Let me tell you something that took me decades to understand, and that most people will spend their entire lives refusing to accept. I was sitting in my office in Omaha one afternoon. Not a fancy office, just a simple room with a desk and a phone and a lot of books, and a man came to see me. He was 44 years old, successful by every visible measurement the world uses to judge a man. Nice house, nice car, nice suit, 2 kids in good schools. And he sat across from me and he said, "Warren, I feel like I'm running out of time." I asked him what he meant. He said, "I've been doing everything right my whole life, and I still feel behind." And I looked at him and I said, "That's because you have been doing everything right according to the wrong instruction manual." That man had been handed a set of rules about money when he was young. The same rules most of you are handed: work hard, save a little, spend. The rest live. For the weekend, retire at 65 with dignity. And those rules were not designed to make him wealthy. They were designed to make him useful to the economy, useful to his employer, useful to every business that wanted a lifetime of his labor in exchange for just enough comfort to keep him from revolting. That is the truth nobody puts in a book. That is the truth I want to give you today, because here's what I know after more than 70 years of watching money move through this world. 40 is not the beginning of the end. 40 can be the most powerful financial inflection point of your entire life, but only if you stop operating with the wrong map, only if you're willing to sit down for the next few minutes and let me tell you 5 brutal truths about money that the financial industry, the education system, and frankly, your well-meaning family have never told you. These truths are not complicated. They are not going to require you to understand derivatives or options chains or the yield curve. They are simple, but simple is not the same as easy. And what I've learned is that the hardest thing in the world is not understanding a complex idea. It is accepting a simple truth that threatens everything you have already decided about yourself. So pay close attention. Let us begin. I call this the 5 brutal truths. 5 things I wish someone had locked me in a room and told me when I was 40. 5 things that if you actually execute them, not just nod at them, not just screenshot them, not just share them with a friend, but actually execute them, will change the trajectory of every year you have left. Here is your only warning before we go in. These truths will probably make you uncomfortable. Some of them may make you angry. Good discomfort is the sensation of your old operating system being updated. Let's go. Brutal truth number 1. The clock is not running out. It is running in. I want to destroy one of the most dangerous ideas you have been carrying for years. The idea that because you are past 40, the financial game is mostly over for you. That you missed some window that closed in your 20s or 30s, and now you're playing catch up for the rest of your life. I have heard this from so many people. I am too old to start over. I should have started investing earlier. The compounding math doesn't work for me anymore. Let me give you a brutal correction. When I was 30 years old, my net worth was approximately $1 million. That sounds like a lot. It was not nothing, but here is the number I want you to hold in your mind. 99% of my net worth was accumulated after my 50th birthday. 99%, read that again if you need to. The mountain I am standing on, the thing people point at when they say Warren Buffett was almost entirely built in. The second half of my life, not because I suddenly got smarter at 50, not because I got lucky at 50, but because of a simple mathematical law that does not care how old you are. It only cares how long you let it run. That law is compound interest. And the way compound interest works is not linear. It is not a straight line climbing steadily upward like a salary graph. It is a curve, flat and patient for years, sometimes decades, and then at a certain threshold it bends. It bends upward at an angle that looks almost impossible when you first see it. I call this the bend in the river when you are young, are paddling on the flat section. Hard work, modest progress, visible effort, modest reward. But somewhere in your 40s and 50s, if you have been putting money away consistently, if you have not raided the accounts, if you have not killed the golden goose, you begin to approach the bend and pass the cullis. Then the current starts working for you instead of against you. Here's the math, and I want you to feel this. Take $100,000 at age 40, invest it at a modest 8% annual return. Do not add another dollar, just let it sit. At 50, that is $215,000. At 60, that is $466,000. At 70, that is over $1 million. You did not work harder. You did not get smarter. You did not hustle your way there. You just refused to touch the money and let time do the lifting. Now here is the version that most people actually live. They hit 40, they feel behind, they panic. They make an aggressive bet trying to accelerate the timeline. They lose 40% of what they built, and now they need a 67% gain just to get back to where they started. I have watched this cycle destroy more wealth than any market crash in history. The assignment for truth number 1 is this. Tonight I want you to open whatever account holds your investments. Just look at the number. Then go to any compound interest calculator online. There are free ones everywhere. Type in your current balance. Type in a reasonable return, call it 7 or 8%, and look at what the number becomes at 70 if you do not touch it. Then look at what it becomes if you add even $500 a month. That number on your screen is not a fantasy. That is the bend in the river. And you are closer to it than you think. Twup. Brutal truel. Number 2. You are not broke because of your income. You are broke because of your indebtedity. Here's a question I want you to sit with. Have you ever gotten a raise and somehow found yourself no more financially ahead 6 months later than you were before? Most of you are nodding, and most of you blamed it on circumstances. The car broke down. The kids needed something. The cost of living went up. Let me tell you what actually happened. Your income went up and your spending expanded to consume it. Not because you are weak or undisciplined, but because you have what I call a wealth thermostat. Just like a thermostat on your wall that returns the room to 72 degrees whether you crack a window or crank the heat, your financial identity has a set point A number that feels normal, a number that feels like you. And every time your income rises above that number, you unconsciously find ways to bring your spending up to match it. New car, new house, better restaurants, upgraded vacations. The economists have a name for this lifestyle inflation. I call it identity spending. Because what you are actually doing when you upgrade your car or your house or your wardrobe to match your new income is not enjoying success. You are spending money to maintain the story you tell about yourself. You are buying evidence that you are doing well. And here is the brutal truth underneath that. If you have to buy evidence of success, you are not yet free. Let me show you 2 men, same age, same city, same income at $120,000 a year. The first man, I'll call him David, grew up without money. And when the money started coming in, he did what felt natural. He bought the things he had always wanted. Nice car, bigger apartment, good clothes, dinners out, good schools for the kids on a payment plan. He is not irresponsible, David. He is not stupid. He is doing what every signal in his environment told him success looks like. The second man, call him Thomas. Thomas grew up in a similar situation. But somewhere in his 30s, Thomas had a conversation with an older man. Maybe someone like me who told him something that changed the way he saw every dollar he earned. That older man said, Thomas, every dollar you earn is a seed. You can plant it or you can eat it. You cannot do both. Thomas started treating his money not as a reward for his labor, but as raw material for a machine he was building. He kept his car an extra 4 years. He moved into a slightly smaller apartment. He said no to a lot of things his friends said. Yes to buy 50. David has a nice life and a net worth of roughly $80,000. By 50, Thomas has a net worth approaching $700,000. Same income, same city, same decade, different identity. Now here's what I want you to understand. I am not telling you to be Thomas because suffering is virtuous. I am telling you to be Thomas because David is going to work until he physically cannot anymore. And somewhere around 62 or 63, David is going to realize that every raise he got, every bonus, every promotion went directly into maintaining a lifestyle that required the next raise, the next bonus, the next promotion. He was running on a treadmill at increasing speed and calling it progress. Your assignment for truth number 2 is this. Write down the number that feels like your financial identity, not your income, the number that feels like you. If someone asked, what kind of person are you? Financially, what number comes up? A, person who lives on $4,000 a month, a person who lives on $8,000 a month. Then ask yourself one honest question. Is that number a reflection of your actual values? Or is it a performance for people who are too busy managing their own financial anxiety to even notice? SF. Brutal truth number 3. Your greatest financial enemy is not the market. It is you. I want to tell you about a phenomenon I have watched destroy more wealth than inflation, more wealth than bad investments, more wealth than any external force I can name. I call it the emotional override. Here is what it looks like in practice. The market drops 20% in 3 months. Suddenly, every piece of financial news is catastrophic. Your brother-in-law is telling you to sell, your coworker already sold. Your portfolio is red and getting redder. And something in your brain, something very old, very primitive, very loud starts screaming, get out, get out, get out. Protect what you have. This is different. Time it is not coming back. And the people who listen to that voice sell. They lock in their losses. They move to cash. They wait for the all clear signal. And by the time the all clear feels obvious, the market has already recovered 35% and they missed almost all of it. I have seen this happen in 1974, in 1987, in 2000, in 2008, and 2020. Every single time the same pattern, the same voice, the same catastrophic decision made by otherwise rational, intelligent people. Here is what you need to understand about that voice. It is not your financial instinct. It is your survival instinct. It is the same part of your brain that kept your ancestors alive on the savannah. The part that says when things look dangerous, run. The problem is that the stock market is the one arena in human life where running from danger almost always makes things worse. Not sometimes. Almost always. I have said for decades that the most important quality for an investor is temperament, not intellect. And people nod at that. But they do not feel it in their bodies until the market is down and the fear is real. And every cell in their nervous system is demanding action. Here's the mathematical proof of what panic cost you. If you had invested $10,000 in the S&P 500 in 1990 and left it completely untouched through every crash, every crisis, every moment of apparent apocalypse, you would have over $180,000 by 2020. If you missed just the 10 best days in those 30 years, 10 days out of over 7,500, you would have $82,000. If you missed the 20 best days, you would have $48,000. The tragedy is that most of those best days happen within 2 weeks of the worst days. The people who fled during the panic missed the recovery. So they did not just lose during the crash, they lost during the crash and missed the recovery. They got hit twice. Now I want to give you the antidote to the emotional override. And it is not more research. It is not a better brokerage platform. It is not a more sophisticated portfolio. It is a pre-written letter. Here is your assignment for truth number 3. Sit down this week and write yourself a letter. Address it to yourself. Write it for the version of you who is sitting at a computer at 2 a.m. watching the market fall and feeling the panic rise. In that letter, remind yourself why you invested in the first place. Remind yourself what your actual timeline is. Remind yourself that every crash in American market history has recovered every single one. Then write this at the bottom in large letters. Do not sell. Do not call anyone. Do not make any changes. Close the laptop and go to sleep. Seal it. Put it somewhere you will find it, because the day you need that letter, you will not have the mental clarity to write it. You have to write it now while your brain is calm. That letter is worth more than any stock tip I could ever give you. Shh. Brutal truth number 4, diversification is not your friend. Focus is. Now, I want to be careful here, because this truth is the most misunderstood one I'm going to tell you. You have been told your entire investing life that diversification is the foundation of financial safety. Spread your money across hundreds of companies, across multiple sectors, across international markets, across asset classes. And there is a version of that advice that is true and appropriate, particularly for people who do not have the time or the interest to study individual businesses. If you are going to own small pieces of many things, you absolutely should own small pieces of many things. Across many categories, index funds are a perfectly rational solution for most people, and I have said so publicly many times. But here is the brutal truth underneath the diversification doctrine. Diversification is protection against ignorance. That is not my insult. That is my direct quote. If you do not know what you are doing, spreading your bets is the mathematically sound response to your own uncertainty. But focus, real concentrated, disciplined focus is where fortunes are built. Not luck fortunes, not inheritance fortunes, not lottery fortunes, built fortunes. Let me show you what I mean. Imagine you are handed a punch card. On this punch card, there are 20 slots. That is all you get, 20 investment decisions for your entire investing lifetime. Not 200, not 2,000, just 20. How would you approach each one of those slots? I will tell you how you would approach him. With extraordinary care, you would research. Like a madman, you would wait with patience you did not know you had. You would say no to dozens of opportunities that looked good because you were saving your slot for something that looked exceptional. That is the punch card exercise. And the reason I share it is not that you are literally only allowed 20 investments. It is to change your relationship to selectivity. Most investors are not too selective. They are not selective enough. They are scattered. They buy a little of this, a little of that. They follow a tip here. They read an article there. They own 40 stocks, and none of them represent a real conviction. Here is a comparison I want you to hold. Imagine a man standing at a dartboard. He is blindfolded, and he throws 40 darts. Some will hit, some will miss. The average result will be average. Now imagine a different man. He removes the blindfold, he studies the board, he waits, he throws one dart with his full concentration and his full conviction. The second man does not always win, but over a lifetime of throws, the second man builds something the first man never will, concentrated, quality compounded over time. Now your assignment for truth number 4 is this. I want you to look at everything you currently own, every investment, every account, every position. And I want you to ask one question about each one. If I could only own 10 things, what would I keep? Not because you need to sell everything else tomorrow, but because the answer to that question tells you what you actually believe. In the things that didn't make your top 10, those are positions you are holding out of inertia, not conviction. And inertia is not a strategy. Brutal troll number 5, the most expensive thing you will ever buy is a life you do not want. We have talked about compound interest and identity spending, and emotional control and the power of focus. Those are the mechanics. But this last truth is not about mechanics. This last truth is the one that keeps me up at night. Not for myself, for the people I have watched spend 30 years building wealth, and then look up at 65 or 70 and realize the life they built, the house, the cars, the title, the net worth was not actually the life they wanted. It was the life they thought they were supposed to want. The life that would impress a father who is now gone, or prove something to a world that stopped. Watching years ago, I have been around wealthy people my entire adult life. I have sat with men and women who control billions. And I will tell you something that I have never seen disproven by a single exception. The ones who are genuinely happy, genuinely at peace, are not the ones with the biggest number. They are the ones whose daily life most closely resembles what they actually value. Let me tell you about a man I knew. I will not use his name, but he was real, and this is a true story. He spent his career building a business from nothing, and he was brilliant at it. By 58, he had more money than he could possibly spend, but the way he had built that business required him to become someone his children did not know well, someone whose wife had learned to live parallel to him rather than with him. And when he sold the business and had all the time in the world, he discovered that time alone was not healing anything. The relationships had been on a kind of slow starvation diet for 25 years, and you cannot fix that with a check. You cannot write a check for genuine human affection. You cannot buy back the years when your kids needed you to show up and you sent money instead. I have watched men stand at the finish line of a race they trained their whole lives to win and find it was the wrong race. Here is the question I want you to sit with tonight. Not a financial question, a life architecture question. If money were no longer the primary constraint, if you woke up tomorrow and had enough what would your actual day look like? Where would you be? Who would you be with? What would you be doing? And then ask the harder question, is the financial strategy you are currently executing moving you toward that day? Or is it moving you toward a bigger number that you will one day trade for the life you actually wanted and find the trade is no longer available? The rocking chair test is something I have talked about for years. Imagine you are 95 years old, you are sitting in a rocking chair on a porch somewhere, and you are reviewing your life with complete honesty. You are not going to be reviewing your portfolio returns. You're not going to be thinking about whether you drove a BMW or a Buick. You're going to be thinking about the relationships you built or failed to build, the moments you showed up for or missed, the person you were when no one was measuring. That is the real ledger. And the brutal truth is this. Most financial advice, including most of what is in books and on channels and in seminars, teaches you how to grow the number. Almost none of it teaches you how to make sure you are growing the right number. Your assignment for truth number 5 is not a spreadsheet exercise. It is a letter, not to your future self this time, to the people who matter most to you. Write down just for yourself, no one has to see this, what you would want them to say about you. Not your professional achievements, not your balance sheet. What kind of person were you? What did you stand for? What did you give? And then ask whether the way you are spending your time today is building toward that answer. Because here is the hardest truth of all. The wealth you build is only worth something if there is a life underneath it worth supporting. Money is a tool, the greatest tool ever invented for creating freedom. But a tool in the hands of someone who has not decided what they are building is just a very expensive weight. Let me bring this home. 5 brutal truths about money after 40. The first, you are not running out of time. You are approaching the bend in the river, where compound interest stops being abstract and starts being real. The second, your spending is not about money, it is about identity. And until you change the story you tell about yourself, your income increases will vanish into lifestyle every time. The third, your greatest financial enemy lies between your ears. Not in the market, not in the economy, in the primitive, fear-driven part of your brain that screens sell at the exact moment you should be holding or buying. The fourth, diversification, is protection against ignorance. Focus is where real wealth is built, and the punch card exercise is how you start treating your decisions with the seriousness they deserve. And the fifth, the most expensive thing you will ever buy is a life you did not actually choose. Build wealth intentionally in service of a life you have actually designed, not as proof of worth to a world that is not paying attention. Now, here's my final word to you. Information without action is useless. You could sit here for another 5 hours and watch more videos and read more books and understand these ideas more deeply than any financial professional you have ever met, and it will not move a single dollar in your net worth. Will not repair a single relationship. It will not recover a single wasted year. What moves things is the decision made today, not tomorrow, not after the next paycheck, not when things settle down today. The people who change their financial lives are not smarter than you. They are not luckier than you. They are the ones who took something they heard and immediately found the smallest possible version of it they could execute before the motivation faded. So pick one of these 5 truths, just one, and do something about it today. Open the calculator, write the letter. Look at the portfolio, write down what you actually value. One thing, one action today, that is all. Thanks for watching.